Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel with myself, Jacob Culshaw, Sam Ucko, Charlie Zazzera to discuss another Watford win. It's 1 week, it's 3 wins, it's 11 goals scored. Tom Cleverley's Yellows are on their way. Well, we don't know where they're on their way to, but we're going to discuss it today. Are Watford back? That is the big question. Sam, look, we got to mention it. The hangover. Is this what Tom Cleverley's done to you? It's just session after session now.
It's been a long time since I felt like this, to be honest with you, watching Watford. Now, it was catching up with my friend Alex, who was travelling and who's also a Watford fan. After the game, one beer very quickly turned into a few beers. So yeah, it's all good in the nature of celebrating Watford winning responsibly. A good night, and here's hoping to many more with you two throughout the season.
Charlie, unfortunately, had a bit of FOMO yesterday. So myself and Sam were at Vicarage Road. Watching a second half demolition, actually, but we'll touch on the first half performance as well. Charlie, you watched it from afar. Were you missing it yesterday in the sun?
Yeah, that first game at Vicarage Road in the season, you always want to be there. I've been gallivanting this summer around Germany and Budapest, and I've got a couple of weddings, back-to-back weddings on a couple of weekends coming up, so I need to kind of lay low. But watching it yesterday, it was a great watch, but yeah, some serious FOMO.
Serious FOMO. Big show on the way, as always. I know it's a little bit of a different time today. So if you're listening to this back, we've done this stream at 1 p.m. on a Sunday. Our usual slot is 8 p.m. on a Sunday. So a slight switch so you can watch Super Sunday in peace. But also, we do have to mention that this video is brought to you in partnership with Hertfordshire Mind. And the latest news on our initiative with Hearts Mind, for every goal Watford score, we're going to be donating £1. 11 goals scored so far across all competitions in the last week. It's going to be an expensive season if we keep that up. But it's £11 each for myself, Sam, and Charlie. If you want to join us on the road with Hertfordshire Mind, the link is in the description below to donate. We've had loads of people getting involved already as well. And I think we've raised over £100 already, and it's the first week of the season. So if we can keep that going, it's supporting a great charity in and around the Watford area and Hertfordshire as well. Okay, let's touch on it. Let's do Watford 3, Stoke City 0. Sam, let's go through the lineup to start with, actually, because there was only one change made, and it was enforced, really. Ryan Porteous made his way to the bench, Sam, and James Morris came in there, and that was the only change from the Millwall team. So Batman in goal, Pollock, Searle and Morris in the back three, Andrews at right wing back, and Ngaki at left wing back, Sissoko Delibashir as the midfield two, Kiembe as the right forwards, Chakvedadze as the left forwards, with Bayo leading the line. Just give us your thoughts initially on that lineup, Sam, and the changes the one change that Tom Cleverley made to the team.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the first reason, without looking at the rationale behind it, with Ryan Porteous being ill, is you're a bit shocked to see James Morris come straight in there. I think, Jacob, you mentioned it on our midweek stream, but I think it's really showing what Tom Cleverley thinks of Antonio Tikvic, that he'd rather even go with James Morris, who's more of a left back than our backup centre back. And I thought Morris did relatively well, to be honest with you, yesterday, still adjusting to our new position. There was a few real tough moments towards the end of that first half that I thought he dealt with really well. There are obviously some flaws to his game, and you imagine that when Porteous is a bit better, he'll come back into the team. I was slightly surprised that he persisted with Bayo up top with the impressive performances midweek of Rajvic has done well in the 2 games that he's played so far. Tom Ince obviously scoring a hat-trick midweek, because we've seen him go through the middle, Quadro Bar, Doumbia. So I was slightly surprised that he didn't gamble on one of those. But you imagine that having gone, I think we went 2-0 up with Bayo on the pitch against Millwall, albeit with those 2 goals were from set pieces. So I imagine Cleverley's rationale was don't change a winning formula, and if we need to change it, we will. And ultimately we did, and those changes won us the game. So, yeah, slightly surprised with that he did pretty much go unchanged despite the enforced change of Porteous dropping out. But yeah, you can't say that it didn't work with the changes that we made at half-time.
Do you know the thing to say about Morris, actually, I agree in the sense that obviously it's not Morris's natural position, but it might actually be his position, Charlie, because I looked at his performance in midweek against MK Dons, and granted, you can't really judge too much from that game because of the opposition, and I think MK Dons lost this weekend to Colchester, so they're on a bit of a bad start to the season anyway. But I thought Morris was great yesterday. He won a lot aerially. I thought his passing was good. I think at this level, maybe this might be his best position, Charlie, because he doesn't have to do as much running as he would at left back, and his pace is only needed over a short distance. Did you feel that left centre-back spot is actually more suited to Morris?
I'm not too sure. I think we need to have the caveat that we haven't faced any quality yet. I think if you told Watford fans 2 years ago that we'd have a defensive unit of Pollock, Sierralta and Morris as our back three, I think people would be going absolutely no chance. But yeah, I thought Morris did well. He had kind of he won 3 out of 4 ground duels. He won 1 aerial duel out of 1. I'm going to kind of do a bit look back at our first goal yesterday, and he plays really key part in that. I just think he's a really good, steady player. Whether he is a left centre back, I'm not too sure. I actually think his delivery is one of his best assets. I think his crossing is really, really good, and you're not really going to get that opportunity at left centre back. So I'm not too sure about that position. Maybe it's one for the comments if people think left centre back or left back. But I think whenever he comes in, you know what you're going to get James Morris and on his performance. And yeah, I think he did well yesterday.
Sam, let's touch on the first half. It was 0-0, and I actually have to say it probably was the classic cliche of a game of 2 halves, in the sense that I thought Watford weren't great in the first half. I don't think we got it right tactically. I didn't feel like the balance of the team was there. Firstly, do you agree with that? And if you do, why do you think that was the case?
Spot on. I didn't think we looked balanced at all, really. I think what was becoming really, really evident was Jeremy Ngakia. While I thought he had another good game, I think you can tell he's really limited in that left wing back role. He was getting into some good positions, but obviously with that lack of a strong left foot, I think that really made Watford struggle. So he looked imbalanced with that. I think at times Ryan Andrews wasn't sure whether to bomb on forward to create that space, or whether to stay back and in case of the Stoke counter-attacks. As good as they were in the second half, and as good as we spoke about it last week, I think at times Tom Bashir and Sissoko struggled in the middle of the park in that first half. Potentially it's Tom Dele. I thought, to be honest with you, I thought it looked like he was still carrying that knock that he picked up in midweek in that first half, but he seemed to grow into the game and shake it off, and by the second half he was fine. So yeah, spot on. I think we looked a bit imbalanced in that first half. Saying that, I thought we actually got into some really, really good positions. And to be honest with you, I thought we could turn around and say that we probably should have been ahead in that first half, albeit that we didn't create any clear-cut chances. There were plenty of times where ultimately our final ball, that final pass, that final cross let us down, whether that was from Ngakia. I think Chatfordazzi could have done a bit better with his final ball a few times in that first half, or Ryan Andrews as well. So I think the biggest plaudits of that first half have to come out to the defence. I think there was a time where Stoke was about a minute or two where they just had throw after throw, or almost corner after corner. Must have been right in front of you, Jacob, I think, in the upper Graham Taylor, and just seemed that Matty Pollock again got his head on absolutely everything with those balls into the box. So yeah, we weathered the storm really well. I thought there was a real maturity to the end of that first half from Watford, where previously under the Kosh we would have given I think Stoke the lead. But yeah, weathered the storm, got to half time, made the changes, and the rest is history.
One moment I wanted to mention actually in that first half, and I agree with you, Sam, was actually a save from Daniel Batman. And it's gone under the radar a little bit, not because it's a save that I don't think you'd expect Dan to make, but it was at a point in the game about 20 minutes in. He's made it to his right-hand side. You'd expect him to make it, but it was a moment where you felt that if that had gone in, it genuinely would have probably changed the course of the game, Charlie. But anyway, went into half-time at 0-0. I think we all agree collectively that it probably wasn't the best first half from Watford, but whatever Tom cleverly said at half-time, it worked to perfection, because this Watford team came out as a completely different side in the second half. What did change, not only in personnel, but also the way we played as well?
Okay, I'm going to try and get the old screen grabs out again and have a look. But was it evidence to you guys in the first half about kind of how clear was it about the left-hand side and Ngakia? Was that an area that you felt that we weren't exploiting, or we could be doing more? What did you think of that?
I think my frustration was Georgie was getting in some lovely positions on the left-hand side, and he was looking to his left and he wasn't seeing anyone there. And there was one moment just before the end of the first half where he's rolled a ball to his left-hand side, almost in hope that Ngakia will run onto it and actually get involved with the attacking play. Now, I think we always have to caveat it with the fact that Ngakia isn't naturally in that position. I think when he's played in the back five under Ivic, he played as the right wing-back. He can play left back as a sort of emergency option, Charlie. But the biggest thing that stood out to me was you did feel like I mean, look, the fact of the matter is the wing backs in this system are probably the two most important players. So if one of them isn't operating the way Cleverley wants to, then it does provide us with problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to show a couple of examples, kind of first half and then second half, the difference between Ngakia and Larouci. And then I wanted to kind of go for our first goal because I thought it was peak Clev's ball. We shall coin it that. But yeah, just looking at this example at the moment, Stoke, I thought were just really, really narrow, but they did kind of, I think they must have saw Ngakia and thought, let him have the space. But I thought they left so much space on kind of that side. So you could see there right back here looking over his shoulder going, where's Ngakia? And you can see how tight the back four is here, how central and how much space that they're leaving on this side. And there's so many examples of this. Let's go back to this one. Again, another example when you can see that back four really tight and all the spaces down here. And this is when you can see Ngakia for the first time. Let's go to this one. And this is another example of kind of when it was on more of the other side. Georgie, I thought, done so well on a couple of occasions, coming inside and kind of spraying it out to Andrews, who had a little bit of room. But again, that back four really, really narrow. And then these are the examples here where Ngakia, we've done really, really well a couple of times for Ryan and Ngakia to switch the ball and just look at the space that Ngakia's got kind of, that's poor. Look at the space that he's got here on that left-hand side. And then we all know that the problem is when you're cutting in on that right side, it's just time and how quick things happen. And then look what Stoke do and how many bodies they get in that time. So let's go on to kind of the difference between Larouci. Another Ngakia. So yeah, Ngakia examples here.
I must say, I did think, by the way, that I must say that I did think that Ngakia has done quite well to fill in that position. I think it's quite obvious that it's almost a stopgap, and we're almost waiting for Larouci to get fully fit. I wonder what it says. What it says about Ken Sema. I did say during pre-season that he looked a tad off the pace, and I do wonder if the reason why we're going with Jeremy Ngakia is because of his sort of defensive abilities. And I think Ken Sema can sometimes struggle to get back. So, yeah, I wonder. I just think that as long as Tom Cleverley's here, I wonder if Ken Sema is going to have that big of a role this season that we've seen in previous years, because it seems that the two are going to be Larouci and Jeremy Ngakia at left wing back.
Yeah, go on.
I was just going to chuck in a few comments from Cleverley about what he said the difference was in the first half to the second half, Charlie, just for you carry on. So he said, from a mentality point of view, I just said at halftime that the game was there for the taking. First half was quite cagey. The heat plays a part in that. So you've got to go into the game with the handbrake slightly on. It's a bit like the first round in a boxing contest. But he said, I don't want my team starting on the back foot like we did, though. You always have in the back of your mind that there could be a slow start, etc., on a hot day like this. And Stoke were on top of the first 10 minutes. We contain that. But at half-time, I said that if you really want to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, it's there for you. Tactically, we said about switching the ball and having an overload down the side of our wing-backs, and they executed that really well. So was that something that you picked out, Charlie, as well in the second half?
Absolutely. And I think that's something that Tom needs to get huge credit for, because he's identified how narrow that Stoke back four was. That's why he thought at half-time, we're in a good position. He didn't need to be that proactive, but he thought, let's get Larouci on because he can really make the difference. And here's a couple of screenshots. Look at kind of when Ngakia comes in, just because he's coming in on his right compared to Larouci. And this was, I think, one of the first ones when Larouci came on. I think he got the shot away and that falls to Ryan and he scores. This was another really good example, which I really, really was impressed with Larouci. He got the ball here and the defender didn't know what he's doing. And he actually comes in this side. And I think this one led to a Kayembe hitting the crossbar. So that was really impressive. And I just think it's just that left side. This isn't rocket science or anything like that, but just having that left-sided player just gives you that second that gets you in a position where you can put that cross in or you can make that decision quicker. And Stoke's back four were not in control at all. But I don't know, Jacob, what did you make of actually Larouci first time you saw him? Were you impressed with him?
So do you know what, Charlie? I watched him midweek at MK Dons, and the first thing that stood out to me was his first thought always is to play forward and go forwards. He doesn't look backward. In the 2 games I've seen him, I mean, even his first most notable action in the MK Dons game, he did this drag back, played it through to bar and scored, right? And he was so keen to get forwards. Then the second half, you just saw, and this is why I think he could be a great signing for us, is not only, I think, the quality of the player, especially for this level, because we all know he played Premier League football last season, but also the way Cleverley wants to play him, the way how high he wants his wing backs to be, that just plays into Laroussi's hands perfectly. And what I really like about him is he's not afraid to take a player on. He likes to get to the byline. He really stretches the game for us. And when you've got him on one side, it actually benefits Andrews on the other side, even though they're on other sides of the pitch, because it just gives you a little bit more space and it stretches the game for us, and then allows the likes of Georgie, Tom Dele-Bashiru, our attacking players, Kiembe, who looked like a different player in the second half, I thought, to get on the ball, and it just provides them with more space. But Sam, I was really impressed with Larouci, and you again, you don't want to get ahead of yourself because it is only 2 games that we've seen him, but all the signs there. If we can get him to match fitness, he could be such an asset for us going forwards.
Yeah, 100%. And I think hopefully he can start next week against Derby as well, because I think I know Derby won yesterday and they deserve to win against a really good Middlesbrough side. But if we can start that game, we can hopefully, again, it's the Championship, it's really difficult and it's going to be hard to sort of maintain it for 90 minutes, what we saw in that second half. But I think hopefully we can improve our first half performance from this week. So I think that's the biggest takeaway, is what we have to improve on and come out the traps a bit quicker and get that game sealed in the first half. I think what impressed me, particularly in that second half, when you get the fullback so high up, is when we were in the final third, and I'm not sure, Charlie, if you've got a good screen grab here of it, I think that was about a 15-minute spell where Stoke genuinely could not leave their half, because, for example, here, what you have is, you have the 2 fullbacks are so high up. You can see Larouci over there, and you can see Ryan Andrews on the other side. You also have the 2 attacking midfielders there, Shaffatazzi and Kiembe, in the middle of the park, who are able to get really, really high up and squeeze the 2 centre halves. You've got Bayo occupying 2 defenders over there. And then you've got Tom Dele and Sissoko behind them. Look at how many men Watford have committed forward over there. That is so impressive to see. And what that basically means is that when Stoke have the ball from open play, it's really, really difficult for them to get out, because they've got however many players that is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or something players back. And they've got no out ball, because then you've got our 3 centre halves who are able to quite comfortably win everything against their attackers. So that's what really impressed me. And it was basically a game of attack against defence for 15 minutes. And that's huge credit to Tom Cleverley for allowing so many players to get forward and pen Stoke in.
That 15 minutes, Charlie, saw 2 goals, but I know you particularly wanted to touch on the first one and sort of everything that's been good so far under Cleverley at Watford.
Yeah, I did just want to quickly touch on Larouci and again look at the last goal. So we'll go last goal and then first goal, which is a bit confusing, but I just wanted to touch on what you said, Jacob, about how kind of aggressive Larouci was. But I think this is leading to the third goal, and there's a ball here and he comes rushing out, and at the time I'm thinking it's quite a risk, but him being that aggressive, and he literally just nicks the ball off the defender, gives it to Georgie, and we're away. We've got a 4-on-3 here. Georgie ends up passing it to Kiembe, and then the right foot, absolute thunderbolt there. Should the keeper have done a bit better?
No, it's Eddie Kiembe on the other side of it. No keeper stopping that. That's all I'm going to say.
I thought it was quite poor yesterday, to be honest with you, Johansson.
I think you're going to say Kiembe, because, Sam, I wanted to touch on the first half Kiembe and the second half Kiembe. It was honestly like 2 different players. But did you notice anything particularly change? And I use change a lot because the performance of particular, I think of Andrews, I think of Kiembe, yeah. I think of those 2 in particular. Even Dele-Bashiru, but the other way, in terms of, I thought first half he was really involved in the game. Second half didn't really need to be as involved because a lot of it we were playing so high up the pitch. But particularly Andrews and Kiembe, what changed from the first half to the second half of those 2?
I think it's with this Watford team, the way that we set up, things are almost going to come in pairs in terms of that. when that right side, in terms of the right back playing better, it enables whoever's going to be in front of Ryan Andrews to play better. Same on the left-hand side. I think Chapfatazzi was really good in the first half. I think he was able to go up another level when he had Gassa Larouci next to him as well. The same as if Tom Dele-Bashiru is going to be doing well, I think it's often going to come down to Moussa Sissoko doing well as well. So I think it's often this Watford team are going to come in pairs. And I think because Ryan Andrews, I think the way his performance improved in that second half, he was a lot more decisive, I thought, with his running. He knew he wanted to get forward a lot more rather than being in, like I said, I thought at times in that first half he was in no man's land. He wasn't sure if he wanted to attack the Stoke fullback or stay back just in case of the Stoke counter-attack. Because he was more decisive and that occupied some of the Stoke defenders, that freed up space for Kiembe. And also I thought Kiembe was a lot more aggressive with his runs. That's where the first goal came from. He was following it up almost with that striker's instinct. And he's really excelling in that forward role. That's 3 goals already this season, joint top scorer in the Championship. So yeah, I thought that was what ultimately is why his performance improved, was because of Ryan Andrews improving his levels as well in that second half.
Charlie, we need to go back to that first goal though, and we need to go through that second half, because obviously it was two from Kiembe, then Andrews, and then Kiembe again. But that first goal in particular really did set the tone for the second half for us.
Yeah, really like the first goal, and I kind of want to go through all the elements here and why I think it's kind of epitomised what we've seen of a Tom Cleverley's team, and especially this season. So first half, Johansson kicks it. And Matty kind of rises more like a salmon than a pollock to win this. Another 7 out of 10 aerial duels for him. Absolutely colossus again for us. It goes to kind of Bayo, who recycles it. I think he gives it to Sissoko. Sissoko gives it to Tom Dele, and then he gives it to James Morris. And I thought this was brilliant from James Morris. And I think this is a skill that is so underrated that doesn't get talked enough about football, because it's so key, and that's those kind of line breaking passes. So James Morris gets the ball and he takes the risk to play it all the way through to Georgie, probably because he knows how good Georgie is. And once he does that, it takes out 1, 2, 3, 4 of Stoke's men, and we're in on goal. So that one pass I thought was absolutely brilliant from James. Georgie turns absolutely beautiful, and we're at him. And this is where you see the wing backs. You can see Larouci just about. I think he's over here, but you can't see Ryan yet. But then this is where this system really works well. And then you can see Georgie comes back out, Ryan in a perfect, massive bit of space again, like we talked about in the first half. That huge bit of space that we should be exploiting. Ryan's got his arms out. He knows he wants it. Georgie delivers. And then Ryan, one thing that I think I've been really, really impressed with, and I don't know if you guys think it's a bit of a tactic, but I think he's been cutting in a lot on his left, and his left foot's kind of impressed me. We saw in Millwall in the first half, he had a shot saved. And I looked at the stats. I think he's got 7 shots already this season, which is the most of any defender in the Championship. He hits the strike. The keeper saves it. But then the goal poacher, that is Edo Kiembe, acrobatic. Poor old Johansson's not near it. And that's 1-0 Watford. But I just thought that goal, all the elements from Pollock winning it, that aggressiveness, even Bayo holding it up, getting recycled, for James Morris taking that risk with that line-breaking pass, Georgie being Georgie, using the wing-backs from Ryan, and then having, like Sam said, that example of all those bodies in the box to score, to make it 1-0. So I really, really like that first goal, and I think that was kind of a really good sign of exactly what Tom Cleverley's trying to do with this Watford team.
Yeah, absolutely. Great analysis from Charlie there. Make sure you do leave a like on the video if you do enjoy this sort of analysis, sort of chat here in WD18. Subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Let's have a look at your comments so far. Philip makes a great point. 34 shots in the first 2 league games and 24 against MK Dons as well in midweek should not be ignored. Jack says, afternoon, lads. I've not stopped smiling since yesterday. What a performance. Jeff, thanks, lads. Watched the game in Bangkok last night with increasing disbelief. Redmond says, do you reckon this will carry on or will we start to decline? Look, we don't know. But I think as long as I think Cleverley made the point yesterday, as fans, as players, and with him, don't get too high with the wins and don't get too low with the defeats, and I think we'll be okay this season. Philip also went to say Andrews was great, and when he scored, the atmosphere was amazing. Will people ever stop criticising Andrews? He's not 20 till next week. I think you do forget his age. I haven't seen much criticism though about Andrews, to be completely honest, Philip. But look, I mean, you have to mention that he is 20. And one thing that I wanted to mention about that goal, and obviously he went on to score as well, Andrews, was his ball striking. I think is underrated, actually. The way he can strike a ball is not normal for a fullback. It is more like a winger, really, which is something to make sure. And I wonder if Cleverley has spoken to him about the numbers he could get this season. I mean, you look at Larousse on the left, you look at Andrews on the right, both really attacking positions. There's an opportunity for both of them to get some good numbers with both goals and assists as well. There was another couple of comments. I'm a huge fan, says Snugs, of the 2 number 10s finally giving our strikers some players around them. Let's touch on the 2 number 10s. We mentioned Kiembe, 2 goals to his name. The first of which was a real poacher's finish. The second of which was a strike on his weaker foot. Got a slight deflection, a touch of the goalkeeper, but they all count, and it goes into the roof of the net. I guess though, we've got to dedicate a bit of time, Sam, to Georgie Chatfordazzi, who was awarded the Man of the Match awards, Player of the Match awards. And look, I mean, we all know the ability that Georgie has. We saw it in the first game at Millwall with that incredible free kick and the ability he has to get us up the pitch. What impressed me, though, yesterday, Sam, and just looking at this stat from Opta, was Georgie Chatfordazzi created 7 chances versus Stoke yesterday, the second most in a league match by a Watford player on Opta record since 2013-14. Only Gerard Deulofeu against Arsenal in September 2019 managed more, and that was 8. 7 chances created, 1 assist to Georgie's name. My only concern, Sam, keeping hold of him before the end of the window. Is that a concern? Because I have to admit, I was looking at him yesterday going, surely there's going to be a couple of teams interested.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I want us to start quickly against Derby, get a couple of goals up and then take Georgie off and hide him away, lock him at London Colney until the end of the transfer window. While we're talking about Chatfordazzi, I think we should mention Charlie Bush's latest challenge as well from yesterday, finding a few fans who know the words to Georgie Chatfordazzi's chant, which Jacob managed to get viral while he was out at the Euros this summer. So make sure to have a look at the latest Charlie's challenge on our Instagram and our TikTok. And is it on YouTube Shorts as well now?
It is on YouTube Shorts. And you know what, Sam? That segue was unbelievable. That was as good as Georgie yesterday. We also need to mention Freya as well on our Instagram at WD18 fans, who did the 1 minute match reaction for us. You remember we did a few of them last season. Freya got the ball rolling for this season after yesterday's win. So if you could go and give that a watch, give Charlie's challenge a watch on WD18 at WD18 fans on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, all that good stuff. You can see the great content. Sam, Georgie, what do we need to do to keep him?
Wow. I was just so impressed yesterday. Like I've always said, he's just so easy on the eye. He's one of those players where it's just so great to watch him. The way he carries the ball forward, the way he's so confident with the ball at his feet. And I think what we're seeing now is that he's just able to get that consistency going. Last season, we know he was in and out of the team. I think it was on his debut against QPR where he nutmegged someone with the outside of his boot, but then we didn't really see him get going until there were sort of flashes during the season. But I think that having that really good Euros, I think, has definitely boosted his confidence. And B, I think because he now knows that he is the main man at Watford Yasser Asprey is in no man's land at the moment. Who knows what's going to happen with him? I think we're going to have to question, where does Yasser Asprey fit into this if he does end up staying? But Georgie Chatfordazzi, yeah, just brilliant to watch. I still think at times his final ball needs to improve a bit. You draw upon earlier, Jacob, that time where Jeremy Ngakia was on the left-hand side and didn't make that run forward, and Georgie passed it out to that left-hand side. I know the exact moment you're talking about because I was saying that Chatfordazzi should have gone down the middle, where I think Bayo had made a really, really good run. So I think at times his decision-making needs to improve a bit. But in terms of his dribbling and what he can offer Watford going forward, I think he's fantastic.
Do you know what, Sam? I'm going to disagree with you about the... and maybe it's because I'm a Chatfordazzi enthusiast. But I would actually say give him a number 9, a new number 9, and you saw what Larousse did in the second half. The way those, do you know what, that link up, Larousse and Chatfordazzi, that got me excited. It got me going, to be honest.
Just on that, then, Jacob. Yeah. Sorry. I mean, do you think there's an element that there's a lack of trust towards Bayo, which is why he didn't want to almost free him up at times, make that pass?
Yeah, do you know what? Do you know what it is with Bio? Oh, mate, I just don't know as a number 9 what he's trying to do, because he doesn't like to back into players. He likes to come short, which is the easiest thing to do for a striker. Every striker can do that. It doesn't matter what the level. But he doesn't really make the runs in behind. And look, I think Bio can offer us something this season. But I think as a starting striker, I just felt, when we talked about the balance in the first half, I felt the balance of that front three probably improved slightly when Rivich was on.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my hot
take. I agree with you. Yeah, absolutely love Georgie. And yeah, maybe I was a bit harsh there, maybe with the decision making, but I still think, if anything, it's a good sign, because there are definitely levels that he can still go up.
Yeah, Laura says defo lack of trust in Bio. Georgie wouldn't pass to him.
Yeah,
I mean, look, the great thing for us with Georgie Chatford, that's as well, is the fact they did sign a new deal with us. So he was on loan, and then he signed a contract. I'll just double check when that runs out, but I'm pretty sure it was a relatively long term one. Charlie, I'll give you the opportunity to talk about the man. Is he someone that you? Do you know what? I'll ask you the question, Charlie. Who is Watford's most important player? Because I'm actually going to put it out there. I think it's Dele Bashiru.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on Dele Bashiru, but just on Georgie, I actually thought that might have been his best performance at Vicarage Road that I can remember. I think he likes the responsibility. He's coming to the ball, he's shown for it, and I think Clevs has kind of built a team now which is suiting him and getting the strength. So it's great to see, and I think he's going to have an amazing season. So that's great. In terms of Tom Dele, and I know you guys, we touched on him a bit in the first half. There was a spell in the first half, I'm not sure, like around 20 or 30 minutes, when he was having so many touches and like dictating the play and kind of moving teams around, and he felt so comfortable on it, and he'd touch it, drive past, try and get past someone, and everyone was feeding the ball. And I was thinking, if we can get Tom Dele to get up to those kind of 100 touches in a game and really dictate play, I think that's going to take him to another level, because he's got that ability to dictate the tempo, but then he can change it up and beat a man and get us going. I did dig out some stats. So like Millwall game, he had 58 touches. MK Dons, he had 65, so slight improvement. Loser had 103 against MK Dons. So you tell what kind of player Loser is in terms of getting on the ball. And then another jump up for Tom Dele to 78 touches yesterday. But there was just a spell in the first half where I thought he got us really, really ticking, and it got me excited about what he can be. Is he our most important player? It's hard to say, because we haven't seen us play this season without him, but I think you make a good case for him. We have talked about our number 10s, like Georgie's great, but we have got Kayeme's obviously scored 3 goals now. Rocco Vata didn't even get on, but he looked great against MK Dons. We don't know what's going to happen with Yesser Espria. So, yeah, I think Tom Dele probably is a good shout, most important. I actually did think Sissoko was really, really good yesterday as well.
Brilliant. Really good yesterday.
Go on, Sam. That
Elaborate.
Yeah, we want to talk about Musa. We want to talk about the quote. I mean, the quote that's going around. I know it's so half-class Edmonton for me, but I really hope it doesn't age like that Javi Gracia tweet. I really do not want it to age like that, please.
Oh God, we come.
Just
we
enjoy the moment, Jacob. Just enjoy the moment.
No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Bio's cam, actually. If it means if it means that we get to see more of that if he starts, then I'm all for it.
What are you about to say? Make Bio the social media manager instead of letting him play up front.
Better cameraman than 9.
You know what? The reason I'll say Tom Dele Bashiru is our most important player, I think ability-wise, Chak Fadats is our best player. I would say Dele Bashiru is our most important, because his ability to turn out of danger and open up the game for us is an asset that is really hard to find, and it allows us to break at pace, which in turn means that Chak Fadetsi gets the space. That means Kiembe gets more space. It just means that basically he's the cog of that Watford team, I think. And I'm just the one thing I did think when he went down in midweek against MK Dons, I was just like, do we have another player who can do that in Dele Bashiru? So it's just something to bear in mind, because look, we are 2 games in. It's a long championship season. I cast my mind back under Val at the start of last season. We had a good opening game. We kind of it did fizzle out a little bit towards the start, but we were kind of quite excited for what was going to come. And not saying I'm not, because I think it's a different vibe Cleverly in terms of the players have bought into it pretty early on. But it just feels like, hopefully, and just touch wood, we don't get any injuries to key players like that. Let's touch on a few more individuals, Sam. I wanted to give a shout out to Daniel Batman. He made a big save towards the end, Sam, and obviously made that save in the first half as well. Was there any other individuals that you wanted to touch upon? I know you were about to go on a story about Sissoko.
I did actually want to mention Backman. I thought he had a good game yesterday. Even his, there was some, it didn't quite come off, but some of his distribution, like his long balls, I thought timed really, really nicely in terms of knowing when to get it out, knowing when to kick it long, and knowing when to go short, knowing when to do things quickly, and knowing when to slow the game down. So yeah, huge credit to Dan Backman yesterday. Sissoko I thought was absolutely brilliant. I thought he brought energy, experience. Here we go, all the intangibles I thought that we want in this Watford side from Moussa Sissoko.
Don't say it.
So hard not to, and then I go, energy, experience.
Was it that you would mention it? How many times? I feel like that. Every time Sam mentions it, he's got to donate another £5 to the pot.
Do you want to wipe out my bank account, Jacob? Come on. I think, I thought Sissoko was really, really impressive yesterday. Like I said, I thought Matty Pollock in that first half was really good at relieving the pressure when those balls were coming in from Stoke. Good friend of the channel, Alex King, I've seen has nicknamed him the bandaged Bobby Moore, so hopefully he keeps that bandage on as well.
What about the modern day Steve Terry?
I prefer the alliteration, the bandaged Bobby Moore. Rolls off the tongue.
That's incredible. Do you know what? Let's have a few comments. So Jack says Batman was brilliant yesterday, looked better on crosses and made a big save to preserve the clean sheet. Very, very true. Dara says, I'm confused about Asprilla situation. I feel like I heard that he's accepted many bids towards him, but is he still at the club? We'll get onto that in just a second. Dara, stick with us and we'll touch on who. We'll touch on Asprilla. Alistair with probably comment of the show. I'm late to this chat, drunk in Australia, but I ran and we're currently averaging 6 shots more than last season from what I can see. I've got to ask you, mate, if you're drunk, what are you seeing?
When he says 6 shots more, is he on about the alcohol or on Watford on the pitch? Because, God.
Will says, really hope we don't get an injury to one of our key players. Delafeu's injury against Liverpool still haunts me. It's still to this day, I think about it on a daily basis. Joe says, who should we be rotating with Sissoko? Don't know if we should be giving him 90 every game. Charlie, good one for you here, because loser on the bench. We've got Ramirez of Spain, someone who obviously looked bright when he came on. I like the look of him. How would you manage that if you were Cleverly?
I don't know, because I don't think we've got another profile like Moussa in terms of the physicality. I think Loser's more of a Tom Delly in terms of getting it, passing it. And even as the question is Loser's best position that midfielder? I think what we've seen of Ramirez, I think he's been absolutely class. I think he hasn't played in the Championship yet, but again, I see him more as kind of a profile like a Loser or like Tom Delly, like we said. So time might tell us that Moussa Sissoko might be the most important player in our team, because he just brings that calmness, that physicality. And I think kind of on the ball, he was a lot better than he was against Millwall yesterday. So I've been really impressed with Moussa. Maybe a few apologies might have to get brought out as we go through the season. So, like I said, that could be an issue if he's can't stay fit. It might be an area we want to bring in the window. Probably doubtful, but I don't think we've got anyone similar to him in the squad, unfortunately.
I think one thing I noticed yesterday in particular was the way Sissoko's always communicating with everyone around him, particularly the younger players as well. And when the more time goes on, it makes more sense why Cleverly was so keen to bring him in, just because if you have a guy who's playing the Champions League final, he's played so many games, Premier League, World Cup, at 35 to bring him in the Championship, I understand why Cleverly did it. So look, Josh says Moussa Sissoko to become the next Ben Watson. I mean, look, I think he'd be buzzing.
I've got a solution if Moussa gets injured.
Go on.
Bring back the Chilean Pirlo in centre midfield, holding it up, knocking it about.
Drinking, Charlie.
No, it's too early.
Okay, a couple of more comments. Philip says, would starting Bar be a better option than Bayo or Rajovic. I don't think need a target man the way we play. I thought Bar looked bright when he came on. Every time I watch him, he's one of those players. I love those players, Sam, who gets bums off seats. And when Bar gets on the ball, he is someone that you don't really. He's unpredictable. He's got an edge to him, but he's got. When you just can tell a player's got something. You can tell he's got something. It's probably just the amount he's going to play with Cleverley.
Yeah, should have had a penalty as well, I thought.
Yeah.
I think at the moment, to be honest with Bar, I do quite like him as an impact coming on against tired legs. But that can obviously change quite quickly. We know the issues that we have in that number 9 position that we've touched on earlier and over the last few weeks. So yeah, it wouldn't shock me if he did come in and have a start quite soon. But I do quite like him coming on 60, 70 minutes up against those tired legs and stretching that back four, because in terms of what I spoke about, penning, Stoke in, I thought Bar was really good at continuing that when he did come on and made them drop back a few more yards as well.
And Gary, with the perfect segue here, wasn't Morris good at centre-back? Looked very comfortable and his pass rating was good. As well, if Wesley Hoot leaves, we have cover, but still think we need another centre-back. I agree. I think we do need another centre-back. And on those lines, Andrew French has put an article out today with Tom Cleverley's comments on Wesley Hoot, on Yasser Asprilla, and Cleverley expects Asprilla to leave the club and Hoot to stay. Charlie, does that surprise you at all?
The way you said that, there we land, or here we land.
I don't know why I made that so dramatic, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. I thought you were going to whip out a yellow tie for a second there. What was the question?
Asprilla to go.
Oh,
Cleverley expects Asprilla to leave and Hoot to stay.
Yeah, interesting, because I feel like I wake up every day and there's like a new rumour about Wesley Hoot leaving, and some of them have been quite reliable sources. But he was at the game yesterday, wasn't he? I've been enjoying Andrew's commentary on Twitter of like Wesley at the training ground saying must have got back from Riyadh pretty quickly and stuff like that. So he was at the game yesterday. Look, I think we all kind of thought Asprilla's going to go. We thought that early on in our head that's kind of happening. So that's cool. If something doesn't happen and a deal doesn't get made and we have Yasser Asprilla, that would be a very nice cherry on top. But I still think Wesley Hoot is key for us as a leader on the pitch. Another experienced head, his passing range. We talked about kind of the switches of play, the space we're having in the wide areas. I reckon Ryan's going to want Wesley back in the team to kind of find him in those space. So you just never know, do you? I'm not kind of, I don't know one way or the other, but I think I'd be content if it was Hoot staying and Asprilla going. I'd be ecstatic if both of them stayed, but I do think if Hoot went, it'd be an issue because, and I think it's in Andrew's article, he says about, we have targets in that area that we'd go after, a left-footed centre-back. We know we got Titfich, we know we got Kai as well, and now James Morris. But I think if Wes went and we had to rely on one of those three, it would be problematic.
Let's just run through a couple of those comments, Sam, before I cross over to you. So Cleverley said, Yasser is a fantastic player. He's going to attract attention and I expect him to leave in the window. He's been in training. He's been doing everything right. And he's a great lad who is well liked in the dressing room. There's only 2 weeks left of the window. And I imagine it's going to happen in those 2 weeks. Nothing in football is certain, but it's something we are planning towards. And then on Hoot, there was rumours that he had flown out to Riyadh on Friday for a medical ahead of further discussions to a move to Saudi Arabia. And Cleverley said he didn't know of that. It's not that I know of, absolutely not. He said, should Hoot depart, would it mean Watford would bring in 2 new defenders? At the minute, they're close to signing one. He said, yes, it would, but then I don't expect Wes to go. We do have more than one target in that area of the pitch if we need them. So, Sam, just your thoughts on Cleverley's comments there.
Well, according to the rumours, it seems that Wesley Hoot's been having medicals every other day during this summer transfer window. It seems that he's at different clubs or flying everywhere every other day, but he's been in Watford the entire time. To be honest with you, with Wesley Hoot, I'll believe it when it happens at this point, just because I feel like there is an element that a lot of it is agent talk, to be honest with you, or trying to get a better deal for Hoot. We know he's got a 1-year deal left, and if he doesn't sign that contract, I imagine we'll be in the same situation come January where he'll be having medicals every other day as well. I expect us, in the back of my mind, Asprilla is already gone, and it's just a matter of time as to when it's happened. So I'm almost fine with it. And like Charlie says, I think Hoot going will be a much bigger problem. And like I said, if Hoot does stay, Asprilla does stay, I mean, he's going to have to play because he's one of the best players in the league. But where does he fit in? Because you can't drop Kiembe, you can't drop Shakhtar, and I think it's going to be a case that he's going to have to almost earn that opportunity to come back into the side originally.
I agree with you in terms of earning your place back, but imagine, I think Jacob tweeted it about it earlier, the prospect of Georgie and Asprilla in those 210s, both kind of on their stronger foot cutting in.
I think on paper, I think it is gonna, on paper he definitely has to start, but I don't think Klebs will want to almost ruffle the dressing room and potentially, if I was Kiembe and I got dropped for Asprilla, who's been looking like he was off all summer with the start that Kiembe's made, I'd be livid, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a case of if Asprilla does stay, which I don't think he will, he's going to have to buy his time. But I think next week will potentially give us a bigger indication, considering, you imagine that if he does train this week, Asprilla will be in the matchday squad against Derby if his head is in the right space. And it does seem that Hoot could be in the squad next week as well with his injury. I think Cleverley said he might be back for Derby or Sheffield United before the international break.
So we mentioned Wesley Hoot. We've got to mention the striker position as well. So Cleverley said that one more signing, they have got targets in that area, but it looks like one more centre-back signing in that left centre-back spot particular is a main target. And hopefully, in my opinion anyway, a new striker comes in as well. Now, there was rumours about Ali Al-Hamadi, who obviously came on for Ipswich yesterday to become the first Iraqi player ever to play in the Premier League against Liverpool. They've obviously brought in Sammy Smodics. They've brought in a couple of players in that position. So could he be on his way out? We don't know, on loan. But the one that got revealed yesterday, Charlie, was Daniel Jebison, who currently at Bournemouth. He's obviously played at Sheffield United as well. Firstly, what do you know about him? And number two, this was from Jeff Doyle, who was on commentary yesterday, obviously BBC Three Counties reporter covering the area. So he basically put the tweet out, if I remember correctly, Charlie, that
he just mentioned it on the commentary. It was a bit surprising. It really perked kind of. Just didn't expect it because we haven't really heard or seen that rumour much this summer. He's a player that I kind of suggested that we should go for last summer. He had a year left on his contract, which ran out. Bournemouth went in for him and got him for free. And now they've got rid of Solanke, they've got Unal, and they've just spent, I think, a record 40 million on Brazilians. Yeah, a Brazilian from Porto. So you imagine he's going to struggle for game time. He did actually come on yesterday and almost score. He came on after 65 minutes for Bournemouth. So the fact that he's playing in the Premier League, same with El Mohammadi, is exciting. He's a lot bigger than El Mohammadi. I'd like to look at both players and make a call on who I think would be better. I think Jebison's kind of got that physicality while being mobile. I think El Mohammadi is just pure goals. I know if you look at Jebison's stats, it might not be as impressive, but it might suit a bit more what we're looking for in terms of a vocal point with the 210. So good names to be linked with. Like we've heard about this striker, feels like for 84 years, like the Titanic lady says. But hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll get one in, because I think after the promising signs we've seen in the first few games, add a good level striker in, and I think that puts us in a really, really good position for the rest of the season.
Sam, are you slightly concerned that we have scored 11 goals and the board will turn around and go, well, look, Clebs, you've managed to score that many goals with the players you've got at the minute. Why do you need a striker?
Spot on. Exactly. That is the fear for him in the back of my mind, is that slowly but surely, as the days tick on, the signing a striker becomes less and less of a priority for the club, when arguably it should be the most important thing, because while it's been a great week, scoring 11 goals, we have played three. I mean, they're not poor teams. MK Dons aside, Millwall and Stoke will improve throughout the season, I think. And I think we just caught them at good times. But I still think it's been almost because the players around the number 9 have done so well rather than the number 9 themselves. Obviously, Rybic, we mentioned, has had a good start to the season. But if Bio is going to be the starting striker, I think we are going to run into a few problems later in the season when we come up against better sides.
Charlie, I wanted to give you the opportunity just before to wrap up about some stats that we wanted to mention from yesterday. We mentioned the dual ones, didn't we?
But no, we haven't mentioned the dual ones.
'Cause that was a big difference I noticed from last season was the amount of duels we won, particularly. So there must be a few stats to sort of.
Sorry, you've caught me off guard a bit. I'll just quickly.
Do you know what? While you're finding it, Charlie, there was one that I wanted to bring up about Ryan Andrews. So he had 7 shots this season so far. That's more than any other defender in the Championship. And obviously, before yesterday, Stoke hadn't conceded in 5 competitive games. They obviously beat Coventry on the opening day. The Stoke fans are saying they played really well on the first day. They played really poorly, particularly in the second half yesterday. But they hadn't conceded. So at the back, they've been pretty solid. So they're just 2 things to mention. But in terms of the duels, Charlie?
Yeah, it's something that, and just on Stoke, I know they didn't seem that impressive yesterday, but I think they'd had like 5 consecutive clean sheets before yesterday, and they beat Coventry, who I think probably won a team likely to go up this season. Jules, I know Luon's tweeted it yesterday, but I think it's important to raise. And again, it's another thing that I think Cleverley's installed in the team is it's just that attitude and just that character and that fight, and just goes to show kind of if you look at these duels, ground duels, we won 55% of them compared to their 45. Aerial duels, we won 57% compared to their 43. Matty Pollock, we can thank for that on the whole. And then dribbles, 64 compared to 43, which is probably thanks to Georgie, but that's a huge kind of difference. So again, those duels, like it's kind of an old school cliche, but you win your duels in the middle, you're going to have a lot better chance of winning the football games. But again, that's another thing that I think Clevs has kind of instilled in that team, that character and that fight. So worth mentioning. But yeah, really pleased with yesterday's performance. And then I'm looking at the next fixture, Derby at home. I know they got a hilarious win yesterday against Middlesbrough, who are a good team. But Derby at home, you've got to be fancying ourselves there. And then if we make that 3 wins out of 3 and 4 wins out of 4, Sam.
It's so Watford though. If we look next Sunday, it's so Watford. That's what's just nagging at the back of my head is that on paper, again, no disrespect to Derby, probably the first 3 games that you look at and go, which is the game that we're most likely to win, is the Derby game. And we've won our first 2. So yeah, it would be very Watford if we did lose it. But you're right, Charlie. It'd be unbelievable for confidence if we won 3 out of 3 league games. I know it was the first time that we've won 3 of our first 3 games in a season since the Javi Gracia season in 18-19, and it will match that record of 4 in a row if we did beat Derby. So yeah, it's going to be another tough game. I'm sure their tails will be up after. I mean, yeah, they definitely got lucky yesterday against Middlesbrough. I think Borough were absolutely all over them with the number of shots that they had. But yeah, we just have to, I think, kill the game off as early as possible, and then yeah, go and hide chat for tatsy at London Colney, like I said earlier.
I can't remember the last time Watford had 4 home games in a row. When you look at MK Dons, Stoke, Derby, and now Plymouth, who we've got in the Carabao Cup second round. I know the Carabao Cup gets looked down upon, but I actually think Cleverley will be looking at that going, it's a good chance to build a bit of momentum. I think we look at MK Dons in midweek, and yes, we know they're not a great side. They were very poor, one of the worst teams I've seen at Vicarage Road in a long, long time. But it gives momentum, and the winning feeling is something that's is only a good thing. And then if we can build on this next week against Derby, Plymouth, and then it's a tough away day to Sheffield United on the 1st of September. So they're the 2 games to wrap up. August, we're going to be keeping tabs on the Hertfordshire Mind fund as well, and we're going to be doing that at the end of the month. We're on £11 so far each. So we'll see how many we get in the final 2 games of the season. Lads, anything else we wanted to mention before we wrap up apart from Freya's instant 1-minute match reaction? Check that out. Charlie's challenge on TikTok. Watford women, Sam, we wanted to make sure we gave them a shout out as well. What's the latest?
Definitely, yeah. First game of the season later on today. I think kickoff is quite soon. Away at #United women. So yeah, they'll be hoping for an instant return to the Women's Championship. And I do fancy them. Renee Hector's obviously a bit of a cult hero on the Watford women's side of things. And it's her first game in management as well after Damon Lathrope obviously moved over to the men's team to be Tom Cleverley's assistant. So yeah, it's a really big season for Watford women. And if they are going to get promoted, I think this would be a game that they'll be hoping and expecting to win. So yeah, best of luck to the Golden Girls.
All the best to the Golden Girls. All the best to Renee Hector in her first game as manager. Charlie, just any final words you want to leave us with today? It's an early stream. It feels, do you know what? Actually, I have to say, it's felt weird not doing it under the lights.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, the early kickoff, kind of that subdued atmosphere after the night before. But just shout out, I don't know how we got through the whole video without mentioning the top that Sam's wearing, the new Watford top, inspired by Hertfordshire United. You two, I'm guessing, are too young to watch Dream Teams.
So I don't think I was out when it came out, but I have watched it on.
You weren't out.
I've watched it on VHS.
God, Jacob, Jesus. It's a bit graphics for 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Yeah, Jesus.
Absolutely iconic Sky One program. Get in the comments if you watch Dream Teams. That was on a Sunday night. They wore purple, and they actually they used to basically get the Watford games and then just like change the colour from yellow to purple and pretend it was their stadium, Abbey Road, like in the late 90s. So yeah, I think that shirt's a belter. Another good shirt from Kelme. This is exactly what they do.
Look, is this the best three we've seen under Kelme? Is this the best three? I mean, you look at the home, you look at the away, you look at the third, and you just think, take my money and happy days. Sam, any thoughts?
I think the away kit slightly lets it down, to be honest with you. The more I look at it, the more I'm not the fan. I'm not a fan. I still think it was the forgotten Rob Edwards season, whatever year that was now. Was that what, 22, 23? I think those three kits, you had that nice blue kit, the home kit was banging, and you had that 100 Years at Vicarage Road black and white kit as well. I think those three Kelme kits were top.
Do you know what, though? It just goes to show you could have an absolute stinker of a shirt, right? But if you have a great season in it, it goes to like the top of the pile for shirts. So where's this one ranking? Where are Watford going to finish this season? Let us know in the comment section below. It is early days. It's a week. It's 11 goals. It's 3 wins. It's a good start to the season under Tom Cleverley. Thanks so much to Sam, to Charlie. As always, this is in partnership with Hertfordshire Mind. Links in the description below to all their services and also to the fundraisers I mentioned on the show as well. If you could leave a like on the way out, it'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe to WD18. Follow WD18 on our social channels at WD18 fans, and we will see you in the next one. Actually, just to wrap up, Adam, so glad I could catch the live. Loving this season so far. Much love from Australia. Take care of yourself.
Get in touch, Adam. Sorry, get in touch. And when I'm out in a few months, hopefully we can catch a game together as well. And any other fans.
Putting the LinkedIn connections going on here. But there we go. Take care, lads. And I'll see you next time. Nice one. Up the audits.